I'm Matt Braunger. This might help.
I am not a doctor.
This might help.
I'm not a professional.
Let's have fun. This honestly is a good time.
Honestly, I got no idea what I'm doing. What's going on? Who are you?
I'm Matt Braunger. This might help. The podcast.
Hey, welcome to yet another edition of This Might Help with Matt Braunger, the advice podcast that doesn't know why it gives advice. I say it almost every time. I don't know why. It's a fun little hook. I enjoy hearing these anonymous calls. Thank you so much for calling in, all the people who've called in for 323-763-0228 and left messages for us to play with. We do try to give sincere advice, but it's a fuck around show. I'm a comedian, all right? I'm not a doctor. Never will be. At this point, it's too late in my life. For this episode, I brought on a guy who I haven't seen in a bit, and I've missed him. He's also a brother of the road and a very funny comedian. Billy Wayne Davis is here. How are you, Billy? What's going on?
I can't lie. I feel great. I feel real good.
Good.
I love the premise of this show. Reminds me of one of my favorite Kathleen Madigan jokes. Do you know the Dr. Laura joke?
No.
Oh,
Kathleen.
Oh, she's a beast.
Yeah.
It's about Dr. Laura. She was like, did you know Dr. Laura's not even a doctor? She's like, that's crazy. Like, how do you get to that point where you're just like, I'm so goddamn right about everything, I'm gonna start taking calls. Just amazing. Like, that joke kills. Even when I say it, it makes me laugh. Like,
yeah, that's so good. That's so good. When I had Ding Donger with Matt Braunger, we started just doing this thing where people were just asking me random shit, and it was like, okay, let's set up a number like on Google Numbers, and then it metamorphosized into advice from a dipshit, which I feel like in hindsight was way too hard of a left turn, where it's just like, I'm stupid. It's like, look, you and I are very similar in that we've made a lot of mistakes in our lives, but deep down, we're not stupid.
No,
we've made those mistakes knowing they were mistakes because they're fun.
It is. So, I look at a lot of my 20s, like it was like people were like, "Oh, you made some mistakes." I was like, there were a lot of people. If you're doing your 20s correctly, a lot of your choices should be like, "I want to see what this feels like."
Yeah.
Knowing
it's wrong.
You're like, I've been told. And I know for a fact this is going to be bad, but
yeah,
I'm just curious what this feels like.
And here's the mitigator: it's only going to hurt me. Like that's always been the barometer.
That's not true.
No, it's not true. It's not. You're going to affect other people with your decisions. It all ripples, man.
Every time.
Yeah. It's so true. That's so, yeah, it's like you're so wrong. Because in your 20s, you think you know everything. Mm-hmm. That is when you're Dr. Laura. That's when you're like, I got it. I'm a doctor.
I'm invincible too, a little bit.
Yes.
So like,
oh God, yeah, you're a superhero.
It's the weird, it's the weird no consequences part to your body. You're like, it's hard. Like I have two kids, I have a 12-year-old and a 3-year-old, and it's a tough thing to communicate. Like, sure, it doesn't hurt now,
right? Yeah,
but there's like the way how your toys wear down. That's what your insides do.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a good
it's
way
like, and we have so many friends, and I'm thankful that like I got rattled around late 20s, early 30s. I got like rattled awake because of some life stuff, like you're supposed to, like it just knocks the shit out of you.
Right.
So I like started taking care of my body a little earlier than all of our friends.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things where I was like, whoo. I mean, at the time I thought this sucks. I have to get my shit together because of this other stuff, because you're a dum-dum.
Sure.
But then, we start seeing our friends with the gout and shit in their 30s, and you're like, oh, good. Okay, good. That punch was that hit in the face of the baseball bat actually really helped me. That was
It's crazy whether it's like, I definitely could have taken the lesson better than I did in a lot of ways, but I also got to give myself credit for definitely being aware and turning towards health.
Yes.
Far more than I used to, and understanding it's just a daily thing. It's just there's a great phrase that was a chef in this cookbook I have he had a mantra that was like, this other guy he worked with was like, routine maintenance is our, I'm going to butcher, but it's like routine maintenance is our only defense against the chaos of the universe or something like that.
Yes.
Where you have to check in and go, look, how is everything? Are we okay? Are we doing the wrong things? You know?
You were like, or it's not even like, I think especially in our society, American society is what I mean.
Of course.
That you have to check in on moderation so much.
Yeah.
Because everything's coming at you like more, get more, like you win more, and it's just at you. So you don't think that you're like, okay, this is how it is. And then you're like, oh, you shouldn't do all this. Like you can do a little bit.
Well, and let's be honest, especially if you're a man. Like Matt Dwyer just wrote this Instagram post this morning that I thought was great. He's been sober a year now. And he was saying how like he literally had his grandfather said to him, men drink, that's what we do. And so he kind of patterned his, I mean, we met getting fucked up in Chicago. And like,
I was gonna ask if he was like, there's a Midwest thing. That's a Midwest thing.
Yes, absolutely. Because I mean, I wonder sometimes if it's because so much of the Midwestern commerce was built on it post,
and it's cold.
Prohibition. You know,
and
it's cold.
I think the cold part has a lot to do with the like, we got to be a little numb because we got to go out here every day and do this thing. Because like I grew up in the South, and the South drinks different.
Yeah.
There's either like full blown alcoholics who don't give a shit.
Right.
Or it's like this secret thing that you're supposed to feel bad about. And you know, like everyone gets like, it's like this weird, like on Friday and Saturday, everyone gets hammered, but on Sunday morning, we act like we didn't see each other. And like this weird repressed thing that I remember going to Chicago for the first time being like, oh, you guys drink like I do. And it's okay. And no one cares. Like,
yeah. It was a very fun place to spend my 20s, but I remember being aware when I turned like 28 and was like, I more, you know, placed it on me being a comic where I'm like, I feel like I'm going nowhere because I am. I'm just going up at the same places in front of the same people with the same people, and it's a blast, but I feel time slipping away and I just have to go. And Kyle was with that too. And he was like, great, let's try this new place, you know, and I think, you know, we were definitely shitheads for a few years, you know, into it, but it does kind of, it's funny, but like I remember Kyle got a DUI in LA, and he put it, even before it happened, he's just like, I feel like we keep doing this shit and it's like Goodfellas, like they're closing in, they're going to get us. And you could use that for, you know, the law, but also you can use that for your health. You can use that for, you know, it's just, this will not sustain.
It's also that line from Anchorman where like, we've been coming to the same party for 12 years. And that is in no way depressing at all. And
exactly. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I never wanted to be that guy who turns 45 and is still kind of saying that. You know, it mean.
Well, it's also a trap in like, it is the important part of like having ambition in what we do.
Sure.
Because if you don't, because in your 20s, like a lot of the motivation to get into comedy is like, oh, wow. So I can just like, I can be funny. And then we get to drink. And then all these other people that love this weird niche thing I love.
Yeah.
And then there's an art to it. So you can work at it. But then I remember like the thing that really woke me up, not really woke me up, but was like one of those like, oh, a lot of this isn't what I think it is.
Yes.
Was I went and I remember, you know, when you're like featuring or whatever, and you're like, oh, if I could just start headlining B or C rooms, that's all I give a shit about, just making like $1,200 a week, you know, like that. And then I got there pretty fast because I worked hard at it. And then that second week of like, being on the road in one of those, you're like, oh no, this is a step. This isn't a destination.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then you see people are like, I like it here. I'm going to stay here. And then you realize like, oh, a lot of what this business is, and a lot of the people, and I don't mean this in a negative way. It's just what it is it's mid to low functioning substance abuse that you can just kind of exist and never really, for years you can do the same vague act, and you can get kind of sloppy every night, but not rock bottom, and then move on to the next. And
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
like
you're literally saying I did that for years, for sure.
That's what your feature act is. That's what being a feature. Oh God,
when I featured, forget about it. I mean, and then when I started headlining, I hit, but then it's just like about 5 years into that, I started just going like, kind of realizing I'm just going to these places, not just to drink, but I'm not furthering, I'm not taking chances on stage, which, I had this last run, I had this hour that I had reformed for 2 years. I threw out half of it, because of, what we all went through. But then, I was kind of starting to hit a wall again. Not like sitting in my hotel room with a bottle of Jack or anything like that, but just like, I mean, I've worked this shit to the bone, and now I've recorded it. And now I want to get back to my family, but I still have a month and a half I'm on the road. So I had to actively check in with myself every time I went someplace and just be like, just try to work. I know you're sick of this, but try to. So once it was great, but once it was done and the holidays hit, I honestly haven't been on stage in over a month. And
that's interesting. I did a thing this year where, because you know how weird your dates and they get moved, like everything was moved around twice, and then stuff that it was just like, but I salvaged what we could, and then did enough that I was like, in December, I was like, I'm not touring anymore in December. I was like, I'm just going to work on like getting these other projects like where I need them to be, and then like be at home, like you said, with the family and stuff. And I was like, oh, this was a good decision.
Yep.
Like, this is how I need to start putting tours together and things like that, where it's like I was already shifting. I started a shift about 5 years ago, just because I got to where you were in a different place, where it was like most of these rooms aren't pushing or promoting us properly.
Of course.
So this is a real waste of time.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go, and then I'm going to go do this thing a lot of places on my own and build that.
Sure.
And that really, it worked. Not at first, it was just hard because you were just like, I knew what it was, and I was like, this is a grind, but this is what I feel is right for me.
Yeah.
And it was like, but then you figure out how to start doing it the right way, and then we can reach our fans in a different way. And you're like, oh, cool. I'm glad I took a year 5 or 6 years ago and didn't. It felt like, I had friends who were like, you okay? And I'm like, oh, I'm the best I've ever been.
Nice.
I'm not making more money. I'm making a little less. But there's like these things I'm doing that are like, it just like, it feels right. And then it's that daily maintenance where if I didn't check in with myself every day, you would just be like, fuck it. Let's just book a bunch of clubs. It doesn't matter. And I'll be, and I don't have to worry about it. And you're like, no, that's not where the real money is. That's like mid-management shit. That's like, you want to be the.
Yeah. I mean, I only, because I have a booking guy who works with comedians and bands. He finds venues when all the clubs are booked, because we had this fucking just tumultuous year and a half, 2 years of shit getting pushed and moved and stuff. And then when things are opening up again, they were taking people. I remember when Kyle and I did our little check-in show on Fridays, Hey Girl, we had Ben Roy on, and Ben Roy's screaming at Kyle because a club threw him out to book Kyle. Kyle didn't know or something, and or no, he was like, comics like you that sell more, and it was just like, because it was people like Bert Kreischer were just like, yeah, I guess I'll play these clubs, and the clubs be like, fuck yeah, and he'd call you or me and be like, hey guys, we're gonna have to move you,
Yeah,
So
but
it was like, and not that happened to me. I was lucky, but like I like that he can just go, I have a music venue that's open to having a comedian for the first time. Do you want to go? I'm like, fucking A. And I just put everything into promotion because, promoting comedy is impossible. It's impossible. Like, unless you're a comedian, just got back from Afghanistan, or you saved a burning orphanage. Like, it has to be something like, why are you in the news? It can't be just comedy. There's no
they
way.
don't know what to do with us unless we're an archetype.
Yes, exactly.
And I think this is my theory on this is that it's the same reason clubs and stuff are so archaic in the same, because they have this old system that worked. That they could print money with certain types.
Right.
And those people are still at the upper echelon of the business.
Yes.
And they're older. And they're hanging on and still just wringing out money through the old system. And I understand why they're like, I'm not really going to adapt because I've already made a fortune and I'm just going to wring this out and I'm done in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
But they're still in charge. So that's why that stuff, and if you notice it gets put through the same channels like it used to, but it doesn't have the same results. They still can wring out some money, but it's like, you guys aren't popping people off like you used to.
Not at all. And I remember when the YouTube quote unquote comics and the social media comics came on the scene and were taking the comedy club spots, part of me got a little salty, but now I'm kind of like, all right, let's just take inspiration from them.
Yep.
And, most of them kind of let go of it because they can't do an hour. It's just a show or whatever. But some of them still do it, and I got no problem with them. Like, they found an avenue into getting in front of audiences. And that's the thing I'm constantly every day trying to crack and often failing. But it's my job to get people who like me or who might like me to see me. That's really that's almost as much my job as it is being funny whenever a mic's in my hand,
Well, I think that's I totally agree. But here's you and I focused, and a lot of people do, on getting funny before we tried to tell people about it.
Solid point.
Like, I just literally felt good about promoting myself in the last 3 to 4 years, and I've been doing this almost 20 years.
100%.
Where for a long time I was like, these are where I'm going to be. You can come if you want, but I'm still getting real good. I'm better than most, but I'm still not that good that I'm going to tell you to come spend money on me.
That's right.
And I think there's like younger generations that, and it's just because of the access and social media that they're like, I just want to get famous. And there were people like that before us and during us and after, and it is like, sure. And you could, but I also point out, like, I don't, I was like, you'll be famous for 3 years because you're not very good at this.
Yeah. Well, and I don't, I have people I pay to help me with this stuff. They're more like, they make little caption stuff, but it's like, I've only recently started. I tried that with some people for a while. It worked okay, but they would just pull stuff from specials. I need to start getting taped on stage more, kind of thing. But there are comics that just dump a new thing every day. And so what I have to do is kind of go, I can't keep up with that. I don't have a media team. I'm not paying someone to follow me around with a camera all day.
Good.
Right. Yeah, it's comparison is truly the thief of joy. I'm working hard on this stuff, but I'm not going to break my neck to try to be someone else. You know what I mean? Like that when it's like I'm my mind's blown at some people. I'm like, wow, you're good at this. I'm not.
Well, it's just I think you're smart too, because you look at it in different. You're like, well, my friend Matt Davis and I talk about this. It's like marketing is a different thing than our art.
Yes, it is.
And for a long time, we've skewed that to like comics. Some comics have a real problem with just being like, I need my marketing to be my art too. And you're like, that's not what marketing is.
No, it's a different, it can be considered an art. It's just not ours. It's
not. And the people that consider it an art, we don't want to hang out with.
Yeah, it's a lot when someone is all, I worry. I mean, you know, my kid is a year and a half now, and Kara said something to me that just like chilled me to my bones, that she was talking to another parent, because like Rose goes to like a little swim class where they kind of just carry her around in the water and stuff, and trying to teach her to kick. But we want to get her into soccer when she's old enough and all that stuff, and then you can start that at like 2. And this other parent said, yeah, you got to take them to swim and to soccer and activities, because those are their only non-screen times as they get older. And I was like, fuck me. So you're telling me sports is the only time they're not going to be holding a phone? And I mean, 1,000%, there's kids in the soccer field that are trying to sneak looks while they're supposed to be on defense. Like,
I mean, I got a call.
It's just like,
from my
Jesus Christ. And I'm as bad as anyone, you know? It's like, I can't do anything, watch TV, work, without fucking constantly looking at my goddamn opium square that we're all addicted to. But it's that thing where it's just like, fuck, that's how far and that's what we have to use this opium poppy to get people to come to shows and not look at the fucking phone.
Well, like, and people have always, like, people that, like, I guess my friends that know me that aren't in this business, they've pointed out or even made that observation. They're like, you wouldn't have any social media if you weren't a comedian. I was like, no one would know I exist.
Yeah. Good for you.
It was just like, but it's like, I have, and especially in the last 2 years, because of the thing, made that shift of being like really kind of, because I think what we do as human beings is we put our weird morals or our skewed morals or what's good or bad on these things that aren't either good or bad. They're just things. And for a while, I thought
that's a good point. They're like, not to cut you off, they're like fire or water. You can use them they can be helpful or they can be extremely harmful.
Yes. They're neither good or bad, but they can be both.
Right.
And that's what hit me about social media was like, oh, this is definitely bad. But if I view this the correct way, I can use it. So that's what I've been trying to do is like learn how it actually works.
Yeah.
And like how the companies that run them set them up where you're like, because for a while it's just like, I just want to have fun with my friends on the tweet. And then you're like, oh, I could make money off this. And I'm wasting a lot of time.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I see what this really, okay.
Uh-huh.
But there's a line too, where it's like, I'm also not going to be one of those people that just says shit controversially to get like, I can't, like, I will mess with you for sure. That's funny to me. But I'm not going to say vague, hateful or blah, 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 like can be taken different ways just to blow up the stuff where you're like, that's just not. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I will say to be a comedian, one thing we like, it's weird. I feel like so many of us are contrarians in our own way. But the problem is a lot of comedians and people in social media have been like, the thing I love about a comic, he's the guy over there going, well, what if it is though? And the problem is they're going, like there's someone that's like, what if the Holocaust didn't happen? It's like, well, no, okay, you're just being a twat. That's not, you think that's being an edgy comedian. You're just being evil. You're being fucked up, Yeah, it's like, and you don't care about your collateral damage. You care about likes. You care.
Well, it's that you're trying to get a laugh from being like, whoa, you ever think about that? Isn't that a fucked up thing to say? And you're just like, it's like how for a while, it was this thing where society was like, nah, racism's kind of over. So like when people were racist, you would laugh.
Oh, sure, because it was an absurdity.
Yes.
A lot of the
I remember that like early, like late high school, early college for me was like,
Mhm.
I was just remember thinking like, man, that's so funny that people are still racist. Like that's
Okay, totally. Yeah,
and
exactly.
then, you know, for like the woke part happened, and you just kind of wake up and you're like, oh no, that's not funny. That's so still fucked up in this, even though it's absurd to be racist.
It's
It is still
insane.
like it's like what we were saying earlier. Where it's like it affects my friends.
Mhm.
Damn it, like
Yeah.
they can't succeed because of
Mhm.
this thing. Oh fuck, it's not funny.
Yeah, and it even the kind of the there was the whole thing of ironic, quote unquote, ironic racism.
Yes.
Like alternative comics were doing, and there'd be a line that'd be very funny, but it also was just it was predicated on the fact that everyone in the room is as progressive as you.
Yeah.
And there'd be the one or two black people in the room, and all heads would turn and see, hey, did you laugh? Can I laugh? Am I allowed? It's like, Christ, do we have to put more pressure on them? Like, take it. Our job is at this point in this generation is take it off them. Jesus Christ. Talk about something else. I know you went hard left turn, from what people were thinking, and it's switcheroo is a big part of comedy, but it's like, hey,
Well, it becomes hacky too.
Yeah.
I think that's part of like what happens is like David Cross did some really interesting things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, but the more I got into stand up and the better I got at stand up, a couple of his albums used to mean a lot to me, but then I listened to him the better I got at stand up, and I was like, this is some rambly bullshit.
Well, and
he said some things that
he would say the
my
same
mind.
shit.
Yes.
It's like him with like Gavin McInnes, like where he's just like, yeah, that was my guy, and we used to fucking go crazy. But it's like, the Proud Boys were born out of him joking that way.
Yeah.
Like they themselves say that. The leader of the Proud Boys says that. He's like, well, this started with a joke. You have to understand. And it's like, that is the impetus where it's like, where do you take your goofiness? If you're like, I don't take anything seriously, even your life, it's like, okay, dude.
But that's part of that. I don't take anything serious like that.
Yep. I mean, that's the root of it.
But it's like, but it's also like, here's what's happening. Here's what happens. It's like, I don't take anything serious, but then they take themselves so
really good point.
Theory.
Really good point. Yeah.
Like that's what it's like. I was talking to Morgan Murphy the other day because it was like, I had this weird thing where it's like, I wasn't defending Joe Rogan, but I was like, listen, like he's a symptom of this bigger thing. He's not the problem.
Yeah, and
so it was like it was what Edward Snowden tweeted, and like I was just like, hey, he's right about this. And it's like, it's weird. And Morgan was like, yeah, I don't like defending Joe Rogan. I was like, no, I don't either. Yeah. I was like, but that's what happened with him is they were having fun for a long time. We know so many people that have been on that show that are wonderful human beings.
Absolutely. I've been
and
on that
I don't think
show.
Joe's a bad dude. I think what happened was he got hugely successful because he was already famous. And I love that they love to play like he just started it himself. I was like, no, he's been on network TV since his 20s, you guys. So that's
he found a perfect lane, which is what might be termed kind of the forgotten straight man lane, which a lot of people are like, I've been left by the roadside. It's like, no, you haven't at all. You're still there, man. And you just
don't like your new responsibility.
You're just taking upon it yourself. And I'm not saying Joe necessarily does this, but you're just taking upon yourself that you're supposed to get tossed away so we can build the new. It's like, no, come along and build the new, but we have to fix the old. That just has to happen, And like, I think, Joe, still thinks of himself as, just a comedian and doesn't understand the mantle that he controls.
Oh, I disagree. Okay.
I think
think he started making a gang of money before the Spotify thing.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's what.
And
There's no question.
I think that reach, because I wasn't, like I said, like a lot of our friends have been on the show, so there's like, and he would interview interesting people from time to time.
Yeah,
but it was real loose in this way where they were just like, and I was like, okay, this is like a fun format. But what would I remember there was a dude, this was when I was like, man, I don't know about this. There was like some dude that used to work for the CIA, and and I just like reading about all that stuff. I have my whole life. So I'm kind of well versed on like some of the things how they work and how they go about stuff.
Sure.
I'm not an expert, but I am a little more well versed than most people about that world because it's fascinating to me. And I was just watching what he was doing. I was like, and then in the middle of it, I was like, why the fuck did he want to come talk to Joe Rogan?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it came out. He's like, yeah, I just met him at the Comedy Store, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, why was he there? And then why did he see, it's like,
yeah.
You start being like, why are these people on this show? And then that starts, and I don't think it's like a conscious thing, but I was like, it starts feeding our ego that, man, I'm pretty important. People are seeking me out. Yes. And you start taking yourself serious, and then the money starts stacking up. And if you don't surround yourself with people that are going to tell you the truth, you're fucked.
Yeah, and once you're locked into seeing the world exactly one way and life exactly one way, and that's
what I'm talking about with the money. It's hard to.
Oh yeah, the money is that's the biggest one
because this behavior keeps getting rewarded.
Yeah, I mean, that's
tough. It's tough.
It's tough, dude. I got a phone call to be on that show day of because Kanye West dropped out day of.
Yeah,
like that's my story. And that's how I went on there. And, I kind of wish I would have gone in on Joe. And what I mean by gone in is like had fun with him. I wish I would have goofed with him like I do at the store. But I was honestly, the platform was so insane. I'm just like, I'm just going to roll with it. And he just started talking about the news. And so I started talking about what was on my mind lately and stuff. And we got into some stuff. And I had there were things that were happening that I remember we looked up and they corrected me on it. And I was like, cool. And I remember there were so many a lot of people were like, I liked you on the show. You didn't try to be blah, 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 or, this, that, or the other. But some people were like, remember when he corrected you? What a dummy. And I'm like, dude, I will take correction. That's what an adult does. You fucking child. Like I didn't write it back.
You're weak. You're weak for learning.
I will die before I admit I'm wrong.
Give
me a hot bowl of COVID.
Well, I tweeted about, I was like, I think the phenomenon too is like people wish that hanging out for 4 hours with someone smarter than you while you're smoking weed is learning.
I do say that on stage. That's really fucking funny.
But I was like, I wish it was. It's not.
Oh my god, that'd be.
I was like, I'd be a goddamn Jedi if it
college would have been even more fun.
Yeah, someone's like, that's how I got my economics degree. I was like, you're poor with an economics degree, and they're like, touche.
well said, Yoda. That's so funny.
But it was like people were like replying to that because it took off. If a couple of my famous friends retweet something, you're like, oh, here it goes, and then you get some weird replies where people are like, look at this, someone that never listens to the show. And I was like, you guys, I can text most of the guests on this show. Like, I know what's happening. It's like,
and I mean, God bless him and God bless his guests, but I can't imagine. I found Savage history fascinating. And those episodes were 3 to 4 hours long. It would take me 2 weeks to finish one episode.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I can't, man. I cannot justify just sitting here. Because look, and I don't drive for a living. I don't work in a factory. I don't work in a job it's at a desk anymore. So it's like, it's different. If you do, I get it. Podcasts make the time go by, and that's what that is for. But
makes sense.
When you're like coming at me for that, it's just like, it's just not a part of my life. It can't be. It truly can't be.
Well, it's like, I know I've watched the show. It's like, I know what it's like. Guys, I know this. Like, I know Joey Coco Diaz is a friend of mine. I go to him for fucking life advice because he's wise, because he's fucked up a bunch.
Yes.
That's how you get wise.
Yeah. Well, and Joey Coco Diaz is a cartoon, man. Like, I mean, I got a lot of love for the guy and stuff, but like when all that controversial stuff came out, I'm just like, you can't take a thing he says seriously that way.
No.
Like,
no, and he is literally, that was my problem when they came after him a little bit. I was like, you guys haven't done your research. Mm-hmm. Especially if you lean to the left and are a liberal. He is the definition of what you want.
Yes.
He has really rehabilitated his life.
Yeah.
And made it positive and made everything around him positive.
Yes. Yeah. And is like an absolute maniac. But at the same time, when you're with him, he's the sweetest guy you ever met. That's the thing. That thing people.
He's got crazy stories because he lived a crazy life.
Yes,
and then he got his shit together after going to prison.
Right.
Which is what you're supposed to do.
Most people do.
And then when people tell those stories, to me it's a weird power move, especially in our business.
Yeah.
When they're like, oh, you're bad. I'm like, yes, he was bad. That's what he's saying. But now he's not bad. He's super funny and showing people what not to be.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I kind of tend to. I used to certainly pile on, like most people, when something fucked up.
I pile on Joe Rogan all the time.
Let's kill them. Let's burn their reputation down.
You grew up in Portland. You didn't know any better.
Well, and also, oh, God, that's God.
It's true and untrue. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, it is, dude. I mean, I love that town, but the amount of people who, I mean, I would overhear say the most insane shit in a coffee shop where I'm just like, that will just satisfy you right now. This doesn't help anything.
No.
You know, the whole mentality of when there was, even back when there was this is Seattle, but when that Clinton signed that trade agreement that was all fucked up for third world countries. I get it, but there were those protests and all they did was like kick in the windows of Starbucks. Like, good job. You certainly
no, do you know who did that? That was actually, this is fucked up. Those were legit government provocateurs who started the violence at the WTO thing.
Oh, well, I can see that shit.
They've done documentaries. I think
there are people that at those sort of protests, they just bash in like Mercedes and shit. Which
that's what I noticed. Okay. I lived in Seattle when Occupy started. I remember walking through Westlake Center when people were putting the tents, I was just like walking through there to do something else. And I was like, hey, what are y'all, there's always some kind of weird Northwest protest going on. So I'm always just like,
I mean, and there has been since I was a kid.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. But and I was trying to explain to my dad about it. I was like, he's like, it gets crazy up there. And I was like, no, a lot of people they're very educated. So they're right. And then they're kind of, a lot of people are well-to-do, so they don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. So they have time to worry about nonsense and fight within themselves. I was like, but the Northwest has this weird anarchist population that most of the rest of the country doesn't have or is really aware about. And I wasn't until I got up there. And then when protests would happen, you would see these anarchists come out and they were just like, we're going to start some shit. And you're like,
yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is not, they're agents of chaos.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it is like, they wouldn't even call themselves anarchists or agents of chaos. And the thing is, look, perspective is correct. This shit should be fixed.
Yes.
This shit should be more fair.
The anger is justified.
Is very bad for all but the rich, generally speaking. But what is their solution? Force it and do it right now. It's like, that's a teenage mentality. I want it and I want it right now. And if not, fuck you and I'll burn your house down. Like, A, that's not going to happen. B, all you're causing is chaos. But I did get a kick out of the amount of people over the Portland protests or recent ones. They're just like, wow, so it's all on fire, huh? And I'm like, no, there's fires over a 2-block radius that are on and off. The rest of Portland is fine and peaceful. No, because I saw on the news. No, I'm like, do you want the pictures of my parents' protest? the elderly one that they help run, that's by the Joan of Arc statue over in Southeast, where there's nothing but signs, and they wave and cars honk and say thanks, or maybe someone makes a mean face or something, but nothing's on fire. That's not on the news. It's like it's all the amount of shit that just makes money for people. And
well, it is like Portland's fascinating in that part of, like you said, like there's like 2 or 3 blocks here and there, pardon me, where it is just like, no matter when you go, what time of day, you're like, this is, if you just film this part, you could be like, you could be, well, and it's like LA's like that. If you just go to certain parts of LA or any, you know what, fuck, any large metropolitan area, there are parts of that area, if you just film there in any major city, it's gonna be like, this is bad. Then we need to help these people.
Life is falling apart.
Yeah, this city's falling apart. And you're like, It's like the train thing where they're robbing trains now, and people are like, LA is falling apart. And you're like, I don't know if you've ever seen a movie about LA, but there's always some nonsense crime.
Oh God, that got me, where it was like, not back to him, but Joe was like, man, I got out of LA just in time or something. They're robbing trains. And it's like, oh my God. Like, you know that Austin just passed Los Angeles in terms of how much it costs to live there? It just, to pass us.
No. There's no tax reason. It was because people were upset in Santa Monica. And I was like, that's another reason when you're just like, oh man, fuck off, man. If you're Mr. Truth, just say hey. But you can't, because it's illegal what you did.
Right. Yeah. It's just like the yeah. Anyway,
it's illegal to say, hey, I moved so I don't have to pay these taxes, blah, 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 blah.
Right. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's all those wealthy comics moved. And I get it, man. That's probably why McConaughey lives there. Like,
no,
great.
he's Jesus there.
Oh, well, that too. He is there.
That is.
And he should be. I mean, honestly, come on. Party at the Moon Tower.
Come on. He like, I love when he ran. He was like, I ain't going to run for governor. Like, we know.
Of course you're not.
We know you're not. You wanted to sell your book. I know what you were doing. I mean,
that's the only thing that makes me think that maybe Trump won't run. And I still have my money on he won't. Is like his, Cohen, his ex, uber corrupt lawyer, was like, no, he's making too much money just saying he will.
Yeah, Roy Cohn. Yeah, no, that guy was the mob lawyer.
No, the Cohen guy.
The Michael Cohen. Yeah,
Cohen. But yeah, Roy Cohn. I mean, Roy. Whoever mentioned like that was Trump's mentor, because it's just the goal is to do whatever you want and live in abject comfort, protected from any ramifications. That's the game. That's all I give a fuck about.
Well, it's like, if you've ever dealt with anyone immoral, like truly immoral,
yeah,
you have to corner them in an airtight corner to get them.
Yeah,
because if you don't, they're not like normal people.
Nope.
Because you can't get them on something where like, okay, you're right, I was fucking asshole. That's fucking, I felt bad.
Yeah,
they don't feel bad. They're just going to be like, well, there's a crack I could just slither out of, and I'm free. Yeah. And you're like, God,
it's amazing.
I mean, Cosby's like that.
Yes.
I watched
100%.
Kwame Bell's doc last night. It's awesome. If you guys get a chance, watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I'm scared too, but I'm gonna watch it.
It's not scary. I tweeted at him today, and when I see him, I'm gonna gush, because it's like, to me, it's the best thing he's ever done.
Wow.
And he went and talked to the KKK and stuff, but the way he presents and educates the Black experience and why the reaction was, and
of course
it is like, I've got chills talking about it, because I was falling asleep, and then I put it on, and then I was like, I'm watching this long thing now. I'll go to bed at 2, because he was a bad person.
Yes. And I got to watch the whole thing, but it certainly had to be presented from a black collective perspective, because
But like, he has comics on there too that are just being like, and they're being so real
yeah,
that it's like that part was so powerful, was somebody being like, I didn't want to believe it. It was just these white ladies saying this shit, and blah blah blah, and I didn't believe it until my friend was on this show and she said this, and the look on her face, and I was like, fuck.
This is so stupid, but this is a microcosm. I remember going when it all came out, and it, beyond well after Hannibal. Yeah, talked about it.
That bit Hannibal did was old.
It was old.
That's why I was like, all the comics were. Everybody was. Even the Hannibal was confused about it. He's like, I've been doing it.
When was this?
Fucking 2 years ago. Yeah, that was like.
Well, and I remember I was like, God, he was drugging and raping women, and I remember to myself saying, all I ever heard is he was handsy, like he would grab people's tits. Wait, that's fucked up too. What's wrong with me? Like, he was so beloved to me, I was willing to be like, he just honk, and some woman's like, Jesus Christ, you just assaulted me. Hey, like somehow that's okay, like that's, we compartmentalize. So
well, it's
if I can just forget about this, but it's like he was so beloved, people were literally going to packing these theaters when there was incontrovertible evidence.
That part was, I mean, I saw him in Seattle, I'd probably 06, 07, 08, maybe somewhere in there. It's like 3 rows back. And I'll be honest, this is like real. When you like my uncle at my grandmother's house, I found his Playboys when I was like 12 or 13, like whatever, and they're old. Like you
do.
And Playboy's the best one to find because it's not going to be like, hey, look, you can see inside that lady. You know what I mean? Those are ones you get later.
They're not using dildos on each other. Yeah,
this is intense.
Hustlers or cherries. I found.
Where you get older, one of those are like, I don't feel good. But I always like. There's always pictures. Playboy is just like a cool magazine for like I'm sure there's a lot of issues with it, but there were misogyny or whatever, but there was also like, it was cool and there was cool stuff. But there was always pictures of like the Playboy Mansion parties in the front. Cosby was always in some of those pictures. Every magazine he's in, a couple of them playing tennis or doing it. And I remember being like 12 or 13 being like, why is the Cosby Show like Mr. Goody like, why is he at the Playboy Mansion all the time?
Like, why is he at the Titty House?
He's
always at the Titty House. He's at the House of TNA. America's Dad. Like if your dad was at the Playboy Mansion like every day, you'd be like, Dad. Like, I mean,
if you're there enough, you're in every issue.
That's so many times.
It's like, that's like you're the popular kid in the yearbook because you're in like a bunch of stuff. I mean, and you're just around.
The security being like, hey, Hef, Cosby's here. You can just yell it. I don't have to go on the fucking thing. I know he's here again. I thought I'd have a day to myself.
Was it 11:30? Yeah.
Jesus. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Let him in. I guess we're playing tennis.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes. That was one of those things where I was like, and then when the stuff started coming out, I was like, yeah, he's always at the Playboy, man. He seems like a horny dude. And then when I saw him live, he did like 2.5 hours. I'll be honest, incredible.
Oh yeah, no, I saw him early 2010s.
Just incredible. It was like, and to watch, like every movement had a purpose, and he could. But he did a couple things where I was like, I rolled my eyes. Where he's wearing department store expensive sweatpants with Crocs and like a Black Family Reunion T-shirt.
Sure.
We're at McCraw Hall in Seattle.
Okay.
we paid $100 and something for our tickets.
Right.
He came out in that. I was like, all right, whatever.
Hmm.
He had this young girl walk him out, and the vibe was so weird. I was like, I don't understand why this woman is even there. And he was like holding her, and like I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
He does a joke about everyone needs to pull their pants up and blah 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 and
Yeah,
respect.
sure.
And I was like, motherfucker, you're wearing Crocs. I spent $120 on these tickets.
Yes.
Why don't you shut the fuck up?
I'm in clothes made to fit me.
Yes.
I bought my waist and inseam.
So he's sitting, and I've told this story as soon as it happened because it was fucking weird.
Okay.
You know, we watch shows different.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So I'm not laughing at everything. I'm laughing, a couple times I was the only one that laughed at a thing. He and I made eye contact.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one eye contact. He was got that weird one though.
I got it. Yeah. I was wondering.
So, but what he would do, there were women on the front row and the second row. And throughout the show, he would sit with his legs spread in his big old man bulge in his sweatpants. He'd do his joke, and then he'd look right at a woman in the front row and flick his balls.
Jesus Christ.
First time he did it, I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, I guess you got to move your balls. You're old.
Adjust himself. Sure.
He did it like 7 or 8 times. Jesus. And I was like, oh no, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, because like, we know guys that are flirting with women in the crowd during their, there's like, those dudes know how to do stuff like that. It's like, and so I'm watching him after I see it's a thing he does. That's when I was like, oh man,
something's off.
I don't like this.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah.
And then it all came out and you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The signs were all there, and I think it's just, we got to get to the calls, but like, I will say, like, it's not even just the Playboy Mansion, all that stuff. Anytime someone is like, I am a pillar of what a person should be, I am goodness, there is just a sack of skeletons in that closet.
It is.
I mean, it's anytime someone is holier than thou, anytime someone is look, I got all the answers, it's just like, holy fuck. Like, I mean, I feel like, this this show is literally the opposite of that, where it's just like, look, we've done some dumb shit. I've done some bad shit. Nothing that bad, but stuff I definitely regret. But like, let's talk through it, kind of thing, rather than call in, I'll fucking fix you. It's just
let me fix you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Erin said, I was telling her I was doing the show and what it was, and she was like, "You're really good at advice." And I was like, "Yeah, I fucked up so much, honey." I'm also good at listening, but it's mostly because I've done a lot of.
You're a good listener. You have a calming presence. I've always found you're really good to be around. You're also a great dad and a great husband, and it's like these are the things in the end that's really important. I was reading this interview with Labi Siffre, a great musician who had some hits in the 70s, and he actually came out, was like out in the 60s or something, and it was just like bananas. But he's just like, I just couldn't write a song from the perspective of I'm in love with a woman. Sorry. He's like, I've had the same husband since I was 18, and he's like 70 something now. And like he was just like, I hit the point where I said nothing is more important than what I have at home. And it's like, yeah, dude, as much as my career drives me crazy, it's just like, how are you when you are with the ones who know you best? You know what I mean? So
you just get the shit kicked out of you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's who it's like. Yeah. It's like
what you do.
You feel a little bad about yourself, then you're doing a good job as a dad and a husband.
Yeah. It's just a work. That's all.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's a Buddhist saying that is like something, but to be a father is just suffering, and you're like, it is like, because it's like you want all these things that you can't control, but you're also like worried, and then they know you're tough in a way, so they'll come kick you in the balls and you're like, sometimes you just got to be like, that one hurt anyway. Are you okay?
Are you okay? Don't worry about me.
Let me ask you this before we get to the calls. This is my favorite thing to ask comics that have become fathers.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm ahead of a lot of us. Because
Yeah.
like I said, my 20s are real fun. When you like that first year, you start looking at like our comedian friends, and you just realize like, oh, so many of you are children.
Yeah.
Like it help me handle them in a way
Yeah.
where I would be like, oh, you're hungry. Here, you need to go eat. That's why you're being this way. Or you need to go exercise because you're killing yourself. Like that kind of.
Yeah.
And you just see them like, man, thank you for helping me. And you're like, I just really just tapped you in the face and be like, be a grown up. And you're
yeah. So yeah, I mean, we are most comics are in our third, fourth, and fifth childhoods.
That's it. It's the thing is I'm trying to get through to young guys is like, listen, you don't have to grow up. You just have to take care of like 3 or 4 things a day.
Oh yeah, I'm so knocked out by the amount of young comics I know that are like, you know what, I don't need weed, or you know what, I don't need alcohol, or you know what, like I'm not gonna worship at the altar of the business. And,
well, I think that's because of our generation.
Could be.
Because the club started falling apart and they fucked us. That a lot of us were like, these are traps. This is some pimps and hoes shit they're doing.
Well, and they're also
I want to do this because I want to be happy.
Yeah. Well,
and if I get rich on it, that's cool. But if I'm happy, I win.
But like these young kids are sharing their shit on TikTok and stuff and being like the most fucking anti-capitalism type, where it's just like not even necessarily anti-capitalism, like I love living, I love pizza, I love not working, and I'm still gonna work in this system, but let's be honest, it's fucking bullshit. Where it's just like, wow, you're saying it out loud, whereas we were just taught to be, just be a good boy, go along with it. Hopefully they'll give you a series, and it's all this stuff where these guys are just like, fuck that. And it's kind of like, I love it. I think it's inspiring.
Well, I think it's the alt scene, like those guys, like they like Marin and Dana Gould and Janine, they inspired us to be like, oh, we don't have to be club comics. We can be comics and play in clubs, or I can go to a rock room, or I can play a theater or do this. And you're like, oh, but clubs and like that old system, they still want you to think they're the only way.
Of course. Yeah. And it's like, it's like, as long as you're not drinking the Kool-Aid.
I'm like, there's clubs I love. And then there's clubs where I'm like, oh, did it burn down? Is everyone okay? I don't care.
Totally. Yeah. Because you know too much.
It's like that.
And thankfully, last thing I'll say, but like so many clubs where I'm just like, God, that owner's terrible. That guy's gone, and someone else runs it, and they're way better. And they know things.
Tampa side splitters. Bobby Jewell's gone. I'll say it.
You said it.
I'll say it.
Yeah,
he's gone, and now I want to work Tampa again.
Yeah, and the dude that runs it is a joy. So
I love him. I loved him when he was working for Bobby.
Yep. I was just there. Was it the beginning? It was the end of 2019 or something, right before we shut down, something like that.
Bobby Jewell was. He was a real road lesson for me, because he had a reputation. He did it to me in his Knoxville room where I did a door deal and I was young and didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then I took it personal, like you do. And then I heard Bill Burr talking about him on some podcast and be like, yeah, and fuck that, blah, blah. He still owes me. I was like, oh, it was just my turn. Okay. All right.
No, and
wasn't personal.
I didn't really, nothing ever happened to me with him, but the thing I heard was like stuff with female comedians. And nothing,
I can't imagine.
Nothing in terms of predatory actions, but just in terms of disrespect. So like, I'll just leave it at that.
Yes. I couldn't. Yeah, he would. Yeah. Well, we got
to get to these calls.
Sorry. Yeah. That's
no. Yeah, I love you. I mean, we've been going for an hour. This is fucking amazing. Okay. So I don't know what any of these calls are. They're just random. So let's hit them. Yeah. So Renee, roll the first one.
Hello, Matt and guests. This is Lauren from Southern Maryland. Matt, just wanted to say thank you to the cider at the show in Baltimore. It was great. Next time you're in town, I'll have to buy you a drink.
Yeah.
I know out in LA it's probably lovely weather. I hear you talk about taking your daughter to the park all the time. Here in Maryland, it's cold. So my question is, what is your favorite winter or cold weather meal? I'm always looking for new recipes and ideas. I really like to use my crock pot, so if you want to tell me what your favorite crock pot recipe is as well, I'd appreciate that. Have a lovely day, and I will hope to hear this on the show. Thanks. Bye.
Well, thanks for calling in. You were a joy. It was fun of you to come and meet your family, meet your husband. Yeah, we are lucky in terms of the weather that I can always kind of just go to a park or whatnot.
There's beaches and there's a lot of shit you can do. It's pretty great.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky.
Aaron and I always talk about that too, like how lucky our children are. Like, do you understand how cool it is you get to live here?
Yeah, seriously.
This was all a dream where I live.
Yeah. I mean, at one point Rose, like, we've all had COVID, and and Rose was asymptomatic, so it was fine. But it's like, I got to take her outside. So I'd take her to, like, that giant like field park that's off the Silver Lake Reservoir. And I just put her there, and she'd see a person in the distance just tear ass to try to get near that person. I'm just like, no. So I'd have to grab her and move her and shit. And it was just me picking her up and setting her down in different directions. But it's like, you can do that here. Let
them run.
Giant fields. Yeah. Cold weather food, man.
I know mine. I immediately knew mine.
What's yours? Go.
Chili, like a turkey chili, ground, or like a real hearty vegetable stew.
Okay.
My mother-in-law makes a really great vegetable stew where it's like, it's so good for you, but it tastes so good that you're like, this is bad.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did this, but it's not good for you. And she's like, it's actually every vitamin you need for a week. And you're like, okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Shit's so good. But I love, like, when it's cold, chili, man.
Yeah. That's a perfect answer. I don't really have something that I can think of that's like, I always get, besides the obvious, like soup or something.
What's your favorite soup? It's not an easy question because it's a mood.
I'm not a giant soup guy. It's it's incredibly unhealthy, but I do love when I'm in New England with Kara, New England clam chowder.
I hate it. It's the consistency destroys me.
I get it. I think it's great, but I get it.
I understand that it's like, I like clams.
Yeah,
but clam chowder, I don't.
Well, the wild thing is, I love, like, if you go to New Haven, Connecticut, like white clam pizza is so goddamn good. But Kara's like, and I'm like, it's the same stuff without a pint of cream. That same flavor, but it's baked into a delicious thin crust with a drizzling of garlic butter. It's unbelievable.
She doesn't.
No.
Is she from New Haven?
No. She's from New England. She's from Massachusetts. But I only mention that because New Haven is like, some are just like, it's the best pizza in America. Because for some reason, the pizza culture there is bananas. It's all old Italians. But they kind of take that. They started doing this white clam pizza decades ago, and it's just the best thing you ever had in your life.
I didn't know anything about that, and I'm excited. And that's where Yale is, right?
It's exactly same town. Yeah, it's and all the places, I could mention one or two, but there'd be people who are just like, no, wrong, it's this one. Like,
I love places like that. Yes.
Yeah, and you go, like, I remember I had a show there that, like, I wanted to be there at the show at like 7, and so I got to the pizza place at like 4:30, line down the street. I was like, God damn it, So I barely got my pizza, but it was unbelievable. And, like, yeah. Anyway, so but yeah, I think your answer is perfect. Chili, like that.
I do.
It's not cold here.
I will say, I enjoyed Chicago style pizza because there's a place called Stefano's in Knoxville, Tennessee, and my dad loved it. We would go to Tennessee Vols games and then go eat there. But I never understood, like, I was like, this is, you eat 2 pieces, maybe a piece and a half, and you're just like, God. So I never understood. understood. Like,
No,
I was
me
like,
neither.
why do they make this? And then when I went to Chicago in the winter, I was like, oh, because
Yeah.
it's cold as fuck, and you
Yeah.
just need to be like, I just need to feel good.
Mhm. I need inner warmth.
I want to try to make my bones warm again.
Yeah. I need warmth in my blood enough to stop it. Yeah.
That's
I mean,
that.
yeah.
Have you lived in California long enough now that when it gets real cold, when you're somewhere real cold and you're just like, it makes you mad?
Oh, I was in like Ottawa, Canada, and
Oh, God.
I got a giant bowl of pho and was just in a restaurant and it was like, this is everything. This is the greatest I've ever had in my life. And I put enough spice in it to make myself sweat with the heat of it, and it was
that's
just
smart.
like felt
That
so
is,
good. It just felt
you
so
made
good.
you made a sauna. You made a
Yes, I
food
did.
sauna.
Yes, I
That's
did.
cool.
Yeah, I wish I could make pho, but I just know I'd fuck it up. So like,
I lived in, I mean, living in Seattle, Fan Brothers is the, like, I don't eat pho many
Yeah.
places outside of Seattle because of how good those guys do it.
yeah,
But it was, and also you don't crave it unless it's like you said, like rainy or kind of meh.
Yeah.
And like I don't,
well, oh, and I would say,
and I don't get hungover. It's great hungovers.
incredible. Yeah. Also, and I'll say ramen. I remember Kara and I were in Japan, and it was a chilly day, and we got the kind of ramen where you just go in and you hit it on a computer board, and then a guy makes it and gives it to you. And I remember just being like, this is I'm eating like probably enough pork fat for like a pound of bacon, but it's so good. It's just so unctuous. Yeah. So yeah, that would. It's not, to answer your question, Laura. It's not stuff you can make at home.
Chili.
Or Billy Wayne's, but yeah, Billy Wayne's answer is the answer as far as I'm concerned. So
you should do chili in Maryland.
Yeah, chili and look up really good unctuous vegetable soups.
And Scotty Landis is from Maryland.
Okay.
And he would Maryland Mudflap. I think he would say like a meatball sub. That's his jam. That's pretty
Can't argue with that.
That's a good warm-up meal.
Pure comfort.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel good and I'm gonna die later.
I'm gonna take a nap for a week. Okay. Caller number 2.
Hey, dipshit. This is Mike. I am a veteran. I have deployed to Afghanistan, but as I like to say, the only combat I have ever encountered was with Microsoft's design decisions. My question is about thank you for your service. Something people love to say because they think they're actually doing something, but what I ask of you is, what do I say to somebody who says thank you for your service when they have no idea what goes on with joining and becoming and being a member of the military? It's not easy. It's fun. It also sucks. But I'm looking for a way to say, do a little more than just pay lip service. So what do you think I should say in response to thank you for your service? I understand this is a super hard question, so I'll take what I can get. No idea who the guest is, because social media is toxic as all fuck right now.
I get it. Good for you staying off.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I'm not screwing around with that. So I don't know who it is. Who are they? Hello, thank you. Yeah, I hope that's specific enough, because I know almost nobody is specific enough. So absolutely adore the podcast. Love your comedy. Fuck you, Peaches. And I would like some cheese babies and a hot boy.
You got it.
Look forward to hearing the answer. See ya.
Thanks, man. I don't know if I have an answer for that, but
I do.
Great. I would just like to say, like, for people listening, that is a knee-jerk thing we say to people, and saying don't say it, but I think if you do say it, please give to veteran organizations and you know, think about what you can do to reach out in your community, because I feel like we live in the age of thoughts and prayers, aka lip service, and we always have. But it's like it's saying thing. You know, I tend to say, "Hey guys, thanks." I don't necessarily say thank you for your service. They know what I mean. They're like in uniform and stuff. Someone's like, "Oh, I'm a veteran." I'll go, "Oh, thanks." You know, I don't know if that's better, but that said, that's my loose answer off the top of my head. What's yours, Bill?
Mine is, I think it's not even about your service, it's about their guilt.
Of course.
Especially if it's just kind of at random, or it's like so when I think they just want you, it's selfish, but they want you to be like you know, like, thank you for saying that. Is I
Right.
think, and it's like, and I get the whole wanting to be like, you don't have to say, like, telling them like you don't have to say that. Like, a lot of it sucked. I felt like forced, because like I have so many friends that I've had conversations with, and I was very close to joining a couple branches several times, and it is like, and I'm friends with, you know, I've become really close with a Green Beret that was in Afghanistan, and it is like, it's an interesting time for it too, because of the pandering they get.
Yes.
They get a lot of pandering. They get a lot of artists pandering to them, and like some
Yeah.
of them want that, and some of them don't. Like, it's like any
Yes.
human. So
Yes.
it's not. There's no right or wrong way to do it if you're being respectful.
Yeah. And it's tough because they know that they are put on this pedestal and expected to be a certain way, but pretty much everyone who says thank you for your service does not give them the support they need. I mean, we don't collectively, you know, as a
Oh God, no,
society. No,
not even close.
they're
We
sent,
do when they're doing the war part,
of course,
but
yeah.
then when they come back, we don't take care of them.
No, they're used as political pawns, and also talked about as the best of us, but then they don't receive the benefits of the society they protect.
Mhm.
And it's, you know, it's despicable. And, you know, like, just like saying thank you for your service, it's very easy for me to just say that, you know, but it has to be said. I think enough people are not facing that fucking fact where, you know, I mean, I there's a guy who I spoke to who stand and saw combat, and his brain was damaged, and now we were just talking about, I was talking about a book I like, and he's like, I wish I could read, and I was like, what? You never? He's like, oh, I learned to read. I just can't get past 2 pages without a splitting headache because of. And I was like,
Yeah,
you know, we only think of like, oh, that guy's on crutches, or, you know, something like that. The damage that these men and women take on is just unfathomable.
and it doesn't. It's some of it's forever,
Yeah, yeah,
and they don't. Even the ones that work on getting better mentally, physically, there are these weird financial limitations, these government limitations, where it's like, and you're just like, fuck,
yeah.
where
Mhm.
it, and that's, I mean, I could get into a lot of stuff, but it's like, that's part of taxing the wealthy, you guys.
Yep.
It's taking care of these people. That's part of it.
Yeah.
And I just, it all boils, it's like what we were saying earlier with like that daily maintenance and taking care of yourself so you can take care of others. It's like, it has this global effect.
Yeah.
And there's this weird disconnect, and it's very clear right now with COVID and the vaccine and anti-vaccine, is people don't, like, do you not understand, like, if everyone's healthier,
Yeah.
like that makes everyone better
Yeah.
and happier, and Like, I think that was the choice I made, changing my career. And not to get all Joe Rogan, but it was like I did DMT once, and it was like it worked.
Oh, look, that
It
is something
worked.
you
People were like, "Have you done it again?" I was like, "No, I don't have to. It worked."
look, changing your perspective is everything. And whether it was DMT that did it, or a friend, or
It was
an experience.
It was at the last year of your festival, baby doll.
Nice.
At the Jupiter.
Oh yeah, at
and
the hotel.
Just after that, it was that thing of like, oh, I really love doing this. Most of this I don't. Most of the extracurricular shit I don't love, but I don't have to do this.
Nope, you don't have to. And I mean, the first time I met a comic who, and this is just one thing, who was just like, yeah, I don't really go out, and I was just like, oh. And I remember that. I remember Greg Proops saying, like, I'll have a drink with the staff after the second show. And that's what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fucking go out and bounce around. I used to.
But do you have that? This is a fun thing where it's happened a couple of times last year where it's like, because we used to go out.
Yeah. Sure.
There are stories, I'm sure.
Of course.
And I was quite wild.
Yeah.
Never mean, but I was unafraid to mix it up and go different places where I shouldn't be, and people love that.
Oh yeah.
And I was just charming enough that people would be like, nah, he's funny. Let him do stuff.
Oh God.
Yeah. Thank God. And every now and then you'd be like, oh, that guy tried to punch me. We gotta go. I've overstepped this. But what shit? I forgot the whole whole point of
DMT, change your perspective, and well, we went down a bit of a. Well, I think
we did.
Collectively, I don't think there's an exact answer for caller for what you should or shouldn't say. Here's what I'll say: you should say whatever you feel because you've earned that right, clearly. So if that makes that person uncomfortable, I think that's okay. And
but I think he's asking in a polite way.
I know you mean well, but can I just say you should be careful about saying that or whatever?
I think he's more curious in a way of like why they're saying this to me.
Yeah, because it's the accepted thing to say. I've heard some people say, don't say thank you for your service, say welcome home. But I'm also like, well, this person might have been home for a long, long time. We don't know. It's that thing where I don't think he's necessarily saying. I think I'm sure he's just tired of the lip service.
Well, it's pandering.
Pandering, yes.
And there's a pandering aspect to it that everyone does it. Most people, if you don't care for pandering, that's what it is. I know what I was going to say. Can I finish it? It has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Sure.
But it was like when you go out on the road, like we don't go out anymore and stuff. Cause like, I don't either. I like to go eat hummus. I'll smoke a joint after my show sometimes and then go eat hummus.
I'll go like the last night I'm in town. I'll treat myself to a nice dinner alone. That's nowhere near the venue.
Yes.
And then I'll start to do the show. And I'll have a couple beers backstage or something, or it's like that. Oh, that's my little treat. It's not this thing of medicating myself from Thursday to when I leave Sunday or something.
Till I struggle to make it to the airport. But here's do you get this for like young comics who have heard tales, right? And then you see them like after the show, they'll start gathering near the green room or where you're.
Oh God, yeah.
They're like, so where we're going, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna disappoint you so much.
You miss that guy.
I'm sorry that I can't be that guy anymore, but you're right. He was fun.
He was fun, but he's gone.
He's gone. So, he had to go away
because he didn't make it.
And
he's dead.
It's good that we killed him.
Because he died the right way.
Yeah.
By choice.
By choice. We killed him. Mm-hmm. It was a firing squad. Yes.
We couldn't afford him anymore.
No.
None of us could. None of us could afford him.
No. Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah. So, Colin, I think it's really whatever you're comfortable with. And if, my spin would be probably,
Even we got uncomfortable talking about
We
it.
did. How can you not?
We changed it to being like, hey, comedy, right? You know.
Of course, because
So
I mean,
so we don't have it.
we're not veterans. It'd be
No.
fucked up if we were like, I know what I would do. It's like, I don't know what
No.
I would do. I just
No.
don't. I just
I
don't.
have, and when I used to think I did, and the
Yeah.
more I talk to people, I'm like, this would have fucked me up beyond
Yeah.
belief.
Oh yeah. But caller, let me know. Like, look on my schedule if I'm coming to your town. I would love to put you on the list. We always get like a couple spots we can just give away. The club gives us, so it's no skin off my back. I would just love to have you. And thanks for calling in. This is a huge one. This is great. And also, I'd like to say if there are any veterans who are listening who have an answer, please call 323-763-0228 and leave what you would add for a solution, because quite frankly, my guest and I were flying blind, meaning well, but flying quite blind. So hope that helps. All right, you ready for the last one, bud?
I was born ready.
Born ready. All right. Caller number 3. Let's roll it.
Just wondering, what's your Hogwarts house, if you know it, and how do you feel like you relate to it?
Okay.
Have a good night. Or
This-
day, or
This is all you.
Born again. We
This
got
is
I don't know,
all
after
two
you.
calls.
whatever time you're listening to this. Thanks.
Fuck.
Bye.
I
don't do wizards.
Yeah, I'm very familiar, especially because even before it blew up, my mother works in well, she's retired now, but she's retired English professor, and one thing
Hey, my mom's an English teacher.
oh nice. One field she worked in, which I'm sure your mom is familiar with, is it's called whole language, which is teaching kids to not only read but to learn to read, or learn to love to read. So,
Mhm.
Not just phonics, like that's the stop sign. This is how you say lasagna, learning to love literature so you get a feel for, I really like to read. It calms me down. I get to, it helps you learn. And,
It's
so
tell stories. It's
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
And so
There are different types of books. Yeah. totally.
perspectives. Yes.
Mhm.
And my mom discovered the Harry Potter series early, and this is going to change the world for young readers. And I was like, I don't know, a kid wizard, really? And now, of course, it's bigger than fucking Star Wars. But
My aunt's my aunt's also, I mean, most of my family are educators, or farmers. So
sure.
I ran away, joined the service.
Too much hard work either way.
Well,
Zero.
it was like people are always surprised because I know how to do like a lot of farm and like construction shit. And I'm like, listen, I know how to do it all. I just
Yeah.
didn't want to do it anymore. It
Me and
sucks. Yeah,
teaching,
it's
same way.
hard.
My
It's hard.
mom would be like, "You would have made such a good teacher." I'm like, "You might be right, but I get in front of enough bad crowds. I don't need that."
And they got to show the same ones show up the next day.
the same.
Fuck that.
The fucking Sunday matinee show again. Yeah,
There are groups of people that should not hang out together ever again.
it's a weird crowd, man. Weird crowd.
My aunt said the same thing about because I was like, I don't care for fantasy stories. Like when you can solve problems with a potion or bullshit, that
Sure.
it's a pet peeve of mine. It's just like, I get why people
I get
like it. And it's like
Sure.
imaginative, whatever. But it's not for me.
Right.
But she was like, she knows me and I do enjoy reading, but mostly nonfiction, but I read a lot. And she was like, it's one of the best stories ever written.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, when you say that, because she's an English teacher, she's well read. And I was like, that makes me, she was like, I knew that would make you interested. And I was like, she's like, just the way she tells the whole story.
Yeah. It's bananas.
And I was like, that's the only part of me. Like, I have no desire to see the movies or anything.
Sure.
But when she said that to me, that's when I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I finally dove in and read the book, and then I read every one that came out. And like, the thing that landed with me was like, I was struck by how dark and fucked up it is.
Mhm.
It's just, you start with him as a baby, and his parents get killed in front of him by a dark wizard, and it tries to kill him, but it can't. No one knows why. And there we go. That's where we start. And I was like, wait, this is young adult? Like a 12-year-old's going to ruin this and have fucked up dreams for weeks? But I was just like, okay, I'm a horror guy. I read The Exorcist when I was way too young.
Yeah.
So like, cool. I think that is the way to get the kids, get them, hooked. But so
She's not dumb.
it is. I do. As much as she's kind of dug a hole for herself culturally lately. it's, saying insane shit. It's just like,
It's
okay,
like, why are you talking? Just
why?
don't. You
Yeah.
don't have to. You're a billionaire. Bye.
You're a billionaire, and also doing that massive fuck up where you go, hey, I mean, we all know what's right? Come on, guys. And you're like, but you're talking about something that is being actively debated and evolving as it's going, and you're not listening at all.
And the people going through it
Yes.
don't understand it.
You don't have a dog in the fight. You sound like a man going, I would never get an abortion, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
if you were pregnant right now, you would cut it out with your fucking.
you would beg for a morning after pill 5 months in,
fucking
not knowing how this shit works. Yeah, but that said, she said, what house would I be from? Let me see if I can even name them all. There's Hufflepuff, there's Slytherin, there's the main one that Harry's from, the big one. I think I can't even remember them all. I would just say I'm probably Hufflepuff. I'm probably one of the houses that isn't that big, but like, hey, fuck it, we're Hufflepuff. That's us. I'm from Oregon. That's kind of where I felt like it would kind of be, where it's like, hey, we're not New York. We're not even Chicago. Great. Here we go.
I'm Skull and Bones because I want to be. I want to be high up in the CIA one day.
Oh, fuck yeah! You're Skull and Bones Club. You're the old.
My brother-in-law went to jail, and I asked him, I was like, "Were you in a secret society?" And he was like, "He's a cool dude. He's like very successful." And he just started laughing. He's like, "Nah, I don't drink, and I didn't give a shit about that." He's like, "That's what a lot of it is."
And the secret shit, I will say two things. One, I remember there was two guys who came into when I worked at Rock Bottom in Chicago, and these two guys. There used to be a Mason's, those temples you used to see around.
Yeah,
and it's like,
my grandpa's one.
Yeah, and it's now a Bloomingdale's. Thanks, Chicago. And the old Masonic temple. And these two guys, obviously, like one's like a plumber, one's like a roofer, and they're just sitting there eating together, and they got their pins. And Abe went over and was like, hey, so you guys are Masons? Do you guys secretly run the world? Like
an asshole.
And the guy and the guy's like perfect Chicago, like, yeah, that's right. We're secretly in a secret society. That's why I'm wearing this pin. Like they both had the pins, right? So secret, and like that, and also, I mean, the ones who are in,
that's what my brother-in-law said. He was like, I'm sure in the 50s, back in the day, it probably was some nonsense, creepy shit.
Oh well, it's
and open. He's like,
the reason why, like for example, Mad Men, like why there was an era where guys could have a 2-martini lunch and go back to work and just live like that. It's because competition for those jobs was none. You went to the right school from the right family, you had that job. Doesn't fucking matter who's going to take your job.
I never understood comics getting mad at like these Harvard kids getting these writing jobs. And I was always like, listen, if I went to Harvard and at the end they give you a $250,000 job to start out with, I would go with comedy writer too. That seems like the fucking chillest one, y'all.
100%.
And then you see them like you see a young comics be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I was like, why would you would do the same thing?
Yes. And like I had Dave Anthony on here, and he was talking about how, he tried to push back. He was on a show, and he was just like, we need to go find some people coming out of, lower income colleges that are still funny and look at their stuff. And he kind of wrote a thing to, everybody in the staff, and that the showrunner or something was like, like stop trying to be an activist. And it was just like, what did I say that was wrong? I just want different perspectives, man. We keep getting these packets that all read the same.
Yep.
He's like, it's not, and he didn't say, let's get more black writers, let's get more female. He was just like, let's start with different fucking schools.
Could we get some people that are poor?
Right. That's the point. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is
people that have survived on their humor. That like, I mean, it's just
that's exact like there's something to be said, like, and there's some this unspoken thing that especially comics that do the road, not just the road, but do the road on the regular.
Yes.
That after you've done about, I would say 12 to 15 years, you, no matter if you like their comedy or them as a person, you respect them as a human because of how hard this is to do and maintain.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And there is something to like, and then my friend said this too. He was like, most comics, could go if they knew how to pitch themselves and get themselves a 6-figure job with a lot of Fortune 500 companies because they have this rare skill set of logistics, of understanding how to sell things, of like, you're this. And he's like, I know a handful that can and have done that.
Yeah.
But he's like, it's also like, it's a lifestyle change. And you don't get to get up at like 10 a.m. It's like all this stuff. And you're like,
I had, I don't know if I came close. I don't know if I were to go pushed for it. I remember I was in Chicago and I was waiting tables and I went into, I got an interview with Leo Burnett, the advertising agency. And like, they really loved me. And they're just like, this is a portfolio. And I looked at it, I was like, I can make this. I can make these ads up. But I talked to people and they're like, you become a copywriter, that's your life. You're not going to have any creativity left for the stage. And I was like, I can't do it. It's anything that takes that kind of spark.
That's a late night writer.
It takes all your effort. And so you can either go here or you go here.
That's why all of our friends that really still do stand up and were late night writers stop being a late night writer.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it takes the same. It consumes them.
Yes. It either takes everything or if you do both, you can't have a family.
No.
You can't have a relationship.
No,
and
you
there are
have
some comics that are totally fine with that. I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not. So
no, it never appealed. And because I liked having a family is why I looked into being a late night writer.
Yeah.
But then it was just like clear every time I wrote a packet, I was like, oh, this is for the money. And I don't think I would.
And it takes everything. And if you were running a show, you would ask everything. Be like, what is this? You're handing in bullshit because you're saving it all for the stage,
Ooh, that was another part of me too, where it's like, I'm not giving this dude this.
No, this is gold. This will kill. I'm not giving you this.
And and they'll use it one night and then it's gone.
It's gone.
Fuck.
No way. Okay. So on that note, I guess our point is drink until you're sick, do lots of coke, and trust no bitch. I think that's what
that's the first 5 chapters of the New Testament. I think we covered.
Dude, thank you so much for the show.
This was fun.
Awesome.
Anytime Kanye West drops out, call me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Is there anything you want to plug since you're on? Before we go.
When does this come out?
This will be on week after next.
Oh, okay. I was going to be like, I'm in Portland this weekend, but that's not going to help. I have a special that's almost finished.
Cool.
Color. It's in color correction. That part.
What's mine?
Oh, is it you 800 pound? Did you go there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a lot of great things to say about labels, but they're great.
I've been with them. They this podcast is on their in conjunction with their part owners of the laugh button. So yeah, they've been great to me.
They were just, ideal. They're like, here's the budget, do your thing. And I was like, oh, what? Yeah. Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah. So can you say like what it's called or anything? Or?
I don't know if we have the final.
Yeah, then don't.
Title, but it's we did it. It's weird.
Okay.
The start and the finish are not normal, and then there's a stand up in the middle of it. So
nice.
It was. Cool. I got to make and work with this director named John Diaz. That he's okay. He did a lot. He helped with a lot of it idea wise because he can do magic stuff. You know what I mean? And I was like, he's like, well, would would you be willing to do this? And I was like, yeah, man, that's amazing.
Great.
And he'd be like, blood. And I'd be like, ah.
awesome.
So yeah, no, I'm really, it's one of the first things I'm really, really proud of that I've put out. So
that's awesome. Well, folks, keep an eye out for Billy Wynn Davis's new special, and go to the website and check for him on the road. See if he's coming to you.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, dude. Good to see you.
Thank you. Love you, buddy.
Love you, man. Good times. As always, if you need any advice on anything, don't think, just call. Just do it. 323-763-0228. Again, that's 323-763-0228. And thanks.
This Might Help with Matt Braunger was created and hosted by me, Matt Braunger. Produced by Outer Circle Media. Executive producers Matt Kleinschmidt and Robert Kelly for the Laugh Button Podcasts.